Chapter 16. The only thing I feared that Bun would discover in my office was the year I received my degree. I stood watching as Dr. Bun walked up the stairs to my office on the third floor of the cram school. My office should have impressed him. I usually discarded my useless knickknacks and trinkets, leaving only a clean and tidy workspace. I preferred a clean and spacious workplace, you see. I was well aware that Bun would inspect my room to find out who I was. However, I was positive that the man wouldn't find anything other than photos and piles of handouts that I made for my students. One thing that might be deemed as unusual was a graduation photo on the showcase behind the desk. I didn't know if Bun would be suspicious of the fact that I just received my diploma last year, the year I turned 25, once he saw it. But who would ever suspect the year of graduation? Bun probably didn't even know how old I was. I tried to get rid of this worry and walked to the classroom. I peered through the glass door, seeing all my lovely pupils waiting for me. I was almost 10 minutes late. I guess I owe them a big apology. Once inside, the chatter gradually died down. The students turned to me and raised their hands in greetings with a smile on their faces. Sorry I'm late, guys. I walked to the whiteboard in front of the room, my eyes scanning my students who were flipping the pages of their handouts. Today, we'll finish on biomolecules, and then I'll bring you the quota test for practice at the end of the class. If you have any questions about anything, now is the time to ask, because the test is coming up. I then noticed that the boy, who was in the school uniform, sitting by the window, had been spacing out completely. He rested his chin on his hand, his eyes wandering out of the window, smiling incessantly. Sorwit, I called out to the willowy boy. Oi, please pay attention to class. What's the matter with you? Daydreaming about your girlfriend? With that, a burst of laughter erupted throughout the classroom. Sorwit had always been the target of my innocuous schemes to brighten the mood in the classroom. The boy's reaction on the receiving end of my teasing was so endearing that it helped me and other students feel more relaxed. Sorwit whipped his head back to me nervously. Red spread from his cheeks to the tip of his ears. No, sir. Sorwit scratched his head, and in his haste opened the handouts. I met the boy when I went to his school to offer the exam preparation. Sorwit came up to me and said that he wanted to go to medical school. He basically wanted me to give him special tutoring, so I persuaded him to enroll in my intensive course for the quota test. He was naive and attentive. I wished he would get accepted in medical school, as he had hoped. Look at your red face. Of course you do. How dare you get yourself a girlfriend before me? I teased the boy once more before returning to my teaching mode again. All right. Turn to page 39, the chemical structure of amino acids. Class went smoothly, as well as was engaging. I loved to teach children. Never did I imagine that one day I would become a teacher. However, fate seemed to lead me right to this path out of necessity. I had to thank whoever inspired me to do this, because it was a job that I loved. And the income was even excellent, if you asked me. My objective after this class was to go to the man who was waiting for me at my office. I'd successfully convinced Bun to trust me. The plan to trick him into thinking that the intruder and I were different persons had ameliorated our interactions. I tried to convince him to write the falsified report. When everything worked out and my involvement in this incident went unnoticed by him, I would seriously ask him out. Oh, how I longed for that day. The day we would be free from this madness and live a peaceful life together. The sunlight broke through the dense morning mist, penetrating through the window of the bedroom where Bun and I were sharing. My bare skin began to warm up to the rising temperature in the room. The barrel of the gun that pointed at me made me feel as though the time was frozen. My heart clenched painfully at the sight of the man who was holding that gun in his hands. The hands of an excellent forensic physician, the hands of the man I loved. I didn't blame him in the slightest that the situation turned out like this. I started it. I deceived and betrayed him. Even so, I didn't want myself to end up in this situation. It meant that everything was spiraling out of control, and Bun would be in danger. Bun. I uttered the name of the man before me hoarsely. Put the gun down. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore, Tan. Bun stared at me. His expression was impassive and unwavering. Raise your hands where I can see them. I did as he ordered. Bun poked my trousers with his foot and slowly crouched down to search for something in the pocket, all the while pointing the gun at me, and not for a second did his eyes leave me. Before long, he found what he was looking for, my cell phone. His eyes wearily drifted to the screen. He frowned upon seeing that my cell phone was encrypted. Give me the passcode. Bun, I tried to coax him. If he successfully gained access to my phone, he would know the truth about everything. We need to talk. The only thing I'll allow you to say is to explain the whole thing. Who are you? Who do you work for? Who killed Jane? And then we'll leave it to the police to do their job. Despite the connections you have, with solid proof, you won't get away with this. Another coughing fit escaped his mouth after he made his point. I was about to use this opportunity to dart towards the gun, but Bun quickly recovered and bellowed, Stay right there! Don't come closer! I paused, waiting for the new opportunity. I knew Bun was not a fighter. He was all brain and no brawn, which wasn't enough to overpower a seasoned fighter like me. It's true that the gun in his hand was loaded, but I knew that Bun wouldn't pull the trigger. Bun, you're still sick. Why don't you get your clothes on first? I dodged the subject by showing him my concern, the passcode. But it's cold. If this continues at this rate, you'll... Are you deaf? Give me the damn passcode! Bun snapped. His countenance was fierce and furious. I'd never witnessed this side of him before, and the sight of it sewed my mouth shut. The awkward silence gradually filled the void between Bun and I. The thing that broke the silence wasn't our voice, but instead the sound of my phone buzzing in Bun's hand. My eyes widened in absolute horror. Only a handful of people called me recently. Bun's eyes took a quick look at the screen to check the caller ID without saying anything, as if he didn't have a clue who it was. Bun walked towards me, lifting the gun to my head. I glanced at the screen to see who was calling. It was an unknown number. However, I knew who this number belonged to, my older brother, who was on the run. It was his new phone number. Answer the phone. Keep it casual. Before I could protest, Bun put me on the phone, turning on the speaker so that he would hear the upcoming conversation. I closed my eyes, bracing myself for impending calamity. The truth was about to be exposed. The minute Bun heard the voice of the caller, he would understand everything. I could only imagine what would happen after this. Hello? I answered the phone in a voice barely above a whisper. Paul sent me the picture. Tan, did you kill Bun? The man on the phone yelled out with a deafening voice. I saw Bun turn his head to the phone in his hand, stunned. I said do whatever you can to have him forge the report, but I didn't fucking tell you to kill him. Damn you. You killed my friend. Paul told me to do it, I explained to Pert, saying in the most casual tone I could muster. God damn it! Pert's voice filled with resentment. Paul, I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't want him to die too. Tears threatened at the edge of his voice. I was, however, already become apathic to Pert's mood swings. I kept a wary eye on Bun's reaction, seeing his eyes grew big with shock, and his hand, which was holding the revolver, began to shake. Bro, I can't talk right now. I'll call you back. I quickly cut the conversation short, stealing a glance at Bun, who was utterly bewildered. Give me a ring within an hour, you hear? We need to talk. It's about Paul. With that, he pressed end. After Pert had hung up the call, the room fell into silence. Bun lowered his hand, which was holding my phone, to his side. In that moment, a glimpse of opportunity to take the gun back flashed before my mind. Bun made a mistake by being at a close range. I anticipated that I could easily reclaim the gun in the blink of an eye, considering my superior combat ability. Plus, Bun's unstable state of mind at this very moment would naturally lower his guard down. Right now, I was waiting for the right moment. I had to find a way to disarm him without harming him, or myself for that matter. That voice, it's Pert's, isn't it? Bun's confused expression sent a sharp pang of pity straight to my heart. He's still alive. He was in the shadows, commanding everything behind the curtain. Bun was reciting what I once told him. The reason I mentioned him back then was to divert Bun's attention away from me. You called him bro. How is he related to you? Don't tell me it's about your mother being a mistress. I knew Bun would eventually put two and two together by himself. Guess I don't have to elaborate. You're his brother, aren't you? Bun pressed the barrel of the gun to my forehead, and in a harsh tone of voice, he forced, "Answer me!" I closed my eyes. Yes, I'm Prosecutor Songsak's half-brother. Tell me everything. What exactly happened? Why did Pert send you to threaten me? Who killed Jane? And who is Paul? Right at this moment, Bun looked so intimidating. His placid front began to dissolve with rage and resentment. Something told me Bun already had the answer, but he didn't voice it out. At that moment, the chilly, dry air was on my side. Bun grimaced before coughing. In that span of a millisecond, I reached out and twisted Bun's right wrist violently. I knew I hurt him immensely, but I had no other obvious choice. "Oh!" Bun cried out in pain, his face contorting, yet still be able to resist me, unrelenting. His other hand balled into a fist and brought it to my stomach. I didn't think he still had that much strength left, but luckily I had managed to block the attack in time. Then I reached out for the gun. Knowing that he was at a disadvantage, Bun chose to drop the gun than to let me have it, and fortunately the gun didn't go off. I tried to retrieve it from the floor, but Bun kicked it the other way. Not only was I worn out with exertion, but I also had to rack my brain to read this man's mind. Sometimes Bun's wit was quicker than my level of intelligence could ever follow. What happened in the bathroom was my lesson, a reminder for me to think carefully about what I should do. Bun made to land a punch on my face, but I ducked just in time, causing him to stumble slightly. I drew him against my chest by his waist and pressed him into the wall. Bun couldn't have beat me in terms of strength. However, grabbing his arm and holding him still proved to be a difficult task, an arduous one at that. "Bun!" Bun stopped struggling, gasping desperately for air. I exerted the pressure to trap him in my arms. "Pert killed Jane, am I right?" he asked in a dry voice. I wouldn't be surprised if Bun could come up with what was close to the truth without me filling him in. "If I were to tell you everything, you'll let me finish my story, right?" Bun answered me with a heavy cough. I could definitely feel that his body was uncharacteristically much warmer than usual. I tightened my hold around him in shock. "It can't go on like this. You must put some clothes on." I tried to rack my brain how to prevent him from running away while I walked back to fetch him some clothes. "I'll not use a gun. I won't get the cuffs on you, but I want you to stay here. I'll bring you some clothes, and you'll know everything. Right now. Do we have a deal?" Bun turned his head to look at me. "I don't believe you. You'll go for the gun." "I swear on my life, I won't do that. No more secrets. What I'm going to tell you from this very moment is the truth. What I want from you is for you to stay with me. Do not go anywhere until I'm done. Can you do that?" I gradually loosened my grip, stepping away slowly, fearing that Bun would flee from the room. But that never happened. He stood still, facing the wall. I snatched the clothes piling on the floor and handed them to Bun. He put on the shirt. The cold temperature must have worsened his illness. After we finished dressing up, without so much as a word, I held him by his hand and escorted him back to the bed. Bun lowered himself on the bed, his eyes wandered out of the window. His face appeared haggard and exhausted. "Soon there'll be news of Dr. Bunnicutt's mysterious disappearance," Bun said. his gaze wearily fixed on the untouched gun at the corner of the room. If I go out there, I will be killed, right? That's right. Right now, you have to play dead. I slowly lowered myself to the floor right beside Bun. Then go ahead and spit it out. What the actual fuck is going on? I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled to alleviate the tension. If this is what it takes to keep Bun here with me, I guessed I had to let it be. Pert is the one who killed Jane.